Today's Country 103.5 WEZL. Heat advisory in effect today, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday. Going to be nasty hot. Please be safe. I know you're going to get out. It's going to be a great weekend to get out, but it's going to be a hot one.
Yeah, you better wear some sunscreen, too, if you're planning on going that ride.
Oh, I know. I got a full head helmet. I'm one of those that covers your whole head. Yeah, it looks like John Glenn's helmet.
They don't make one of those.
Looks like John Glenn's helmet back on the Apollo missions. You know, it's the biggest. But it won't. My head won't burn anyway. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Rick just pointed out, and I had this had passed by me. I just one of those things that you heard and then I didn't think about again. But we've got the end of something I think very Charleston happening this weekend.
Yeah, Ken Berger.
Ken Berger's last column ever will run Sunday in the paper. And we've got, I think, is this the Ken Berger?
It is. Hey, Rick.
Ken, TJ, Gary, and Rick here, and we were calling to mark the end of an era, man.
Man, am I dying?
Well, you know, that's what it sounded like. Rick was over here crying and up against the wall, holding the leg.
Hanging his head on the table.
Had the paper in front of him going, it's Ken's last thing Sunday.
It's the end of an era. Like you said, I just got a little older. Ken Berger's not going to be in the paper anymore.
That just means Ken Berger got a lot older, too.
Yeah, baby. So what's going on with that, Ken? Because you went from being the guy in sports to the guy with the best column that's ever been written in the newspaper to retirement. What's this all about?
Well, that's the cycle of life, you know. It's I'm getting old, and I tell you what, guys, I've had the best run that you can ever have in the newspaper business. I was telling a friend of mine yesterday, you know, I started in 1973 in Columbia when I got out of college, and I compare it to a surfboard. Like I caught this wave in the early 70s, and I hit the golden era of the newspaper business, and I just surfed that thing hard all through the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. And you know, when I was doing sports, I was going everywhere and covered everything from Super Bowls to, you know, the Masters, and went everywhere. And then I decided I wanted to get off the road, and I had an opportunity to write this other column. So really, it's like I've been surfing this wave all the way through, and I've, you know, brought it right up to the beach, and it's time to step off without even getting my feet wet.
There is a great picture of you in the front page of the Post and Courier today, sitting there with your feet up, back in, I don't know, that looks like with the hair, I'm saying 77 maybe?
No, that was actually about 73 or 74. You know,
that right?
After I started. Yeah, that was at the Columbia Record in Columbia.
Well, you really haven't changed. You don't look any older than today than you looked then, Ken.
You hadn't seen the top of my head lately.
Well, I can't see the top of your head in this picture either, so I just assumed it was all about his bear.
It got a little thinner, but it's still there.
Talk about the transition. You're sitting there in front of a Royal typewriter. Number one, do you still have it? And number two, when's the last time you had to type anything on a typewriter, man?
No, I wish I did still have it. They're mostly used as boat anchors now.
Yeah.
And I haven't typed on one of those in a long time, but I really... my wife was telling me lately that when she watches me write, when I write a story, I still pound the computer pretty hard. And that's because I grew up, you know, pounding on those old typewriters.
Absolutely, because I heard you had to do all the writing for, or all the typing for Warren Pepper, because he still to this day can't type.
What are you going to do? He's a TV guy,
man. Ken, what do you think is probably the biggest memory, the most forefront memory of 4 decades of newspaper writing?
I tell you what, guys, I've had such a great career, because I've covered, I was a sports writer, and then I got out of sports, and I covered, believe it or not, I covered business for a couple of years, learned a lot there. Then I had a chance to cover Washington for a couple of years, live in D.C. and cover Congress. I did sports again for 21 years during the really fun times. And this latest column I did for almost 3 years, just talking to everyday people, you know, and writing what I want to write. It is so hard to pick. Yeah. I always, when people ask me what's your favorite column, I always tell them the last one I wrote. You know, and got in on deadline.
Exactly.
So what a lot of people you don't think about is that, you know, I really kind of lived the last 40 years on deadline, because, you know, in our business, your business, you're never really off deadline.
Right.
How are you going to act in retirement? I mean, is it actually going to be retirement for you?
Well, I mean, I'm going to step down from what I'm doing. First thing I'm going to do, and you guys can appreciate this, I'm going to take 3 months off.
Yes.
I've been wanting to
That's
do that
awesome.
for the last 10 years.
Well, they obviously pay better in newspaper than they do in radio.
and I'm writing books. I've done 2 novels, Swallow Savannah and Sister Santee, that have done real well. And I'm in the middle of writing a 3rd novel, so I'm gonna finish that up this year. I got grandchildren now, man. I got 4 grandchildren.
Oh, my
That's
goodness.
incredible.
Bonnie and I are getting ready to leave next month and go visit. We got a new granddaughter just born in Sweden. My oldest
Wow.
daughter lives in Sweden.
Wow.
So, we get a chance to travel and do some things. But I think in the next 6 months to a year, I'll be doing something. I just don't want to write 4 columns a week.
Yeah, the amazing thing is my dream, Ken, is when I don't have to get up at 3:00 in the morning like we do
I'm
now.
sure. I'm sure.
And my dream is to write. I want to write books, so I am very envious. Number one, of the fact that you can and already have done that, and I'm
Thanks.
very envious of the fact that you're going to get to travel with your wife and enjoy. You pretty much have. This is the culmination of almost a perfect life for you.
It has been a great career. It really has. I said in the story that ran yesterday, I was a little kid growing up in Allendale. I wanted to be a newspaper man, and I wanted to write for a living. And I pulled it. I got away with it.
That's great. I
pulled it off.
Well, you've been one of the best and the most steady and the most dependable through it all, and we're going to miss you. What's Sunday going to be? A farewell?
Yeah, it's a farewell column talking about the first day that I walked into a newsroom, and then talking about what it's been like. So I tell you what, you couldn't find a better place, and I wish I could say my career was planned and I really had a great scheme and everything. But you know how life goes.
I know.
Things happen and you go from one to the other. And my motto is be in the right place at the right time with the right stuff.
Well, that's it. And you've made a life out of that.
I made a life out of that. I was in the right place at the right time with the right stuff.
Well, do me a favor as you travel through the next couple of years and find all these new adventures. Please feel free to use the number you have just called. At any point you see something that just fascinates you and you want to share it, call us.
I'll do it, guys. I do appreciate the call.
And tell me where to find your books. Tell folks where to get these books that you've already published.
Well, Swallow Savannah and Sister Santee are available at like your Barnes and Noble and any other bookstores, mostly around Charleston and in the Low Country. And you can order them online at Amazon or Barnes and Noble or even our publishing website, which is eveningpostbooks.com.
Got it, Ken.
That's awesome.
Enjoy the next 40 years as much as you have the last, man.
I promise. I'm going to give it a run.
All right, buddy. Good to talk to you, Ken.
You guys are great. Thanks for
See you,
calling.
buddy.
Appreciate it.